her play and a few of the other works that she's had that she's participated with in the past, and also find out what's going to be happening with her with playwriting. Right now, let me just see. Joel Thomas, do we have you on the line? Fantastic. We're going to get to that interview in just one moment. First of all, it's my pleasure to use this time on the radio, visiting with all of you listeners in your homes, at work, and on the road, wherever you happen to be. And it's my goal to make sure that St. George and Southern Utah's little artistic gems and secrets get known. We don't want them to be secrets anymore. Now, on today's show, not only are we going to focus on the particular plays being performed this evening at the Center for the Performing Arts in Kayenta, but we're also going to talk about some of the plays coming up and giving you a little bit of a background as to what's happening. A little bit about myself. I am a playwright, I am an actor, and also a director. I've been doing that for over a quarter of a century, which is very difficult to say, I will tell you. But recently, and this was back in 2013, I had written some plays, and anyone will tell you that being a playwright is more difficult than being a director, which is more difficult than being an actor out there. Thousands and thousands of plays are out there, and there are only so many theaters, only so many artists that are willing to work on them. So it's very difficult getting your plays heard, getting them out there to be worked on. And it's a joke in the theater, and this has been one that I've been very fond of over my 25 years, that if no one will give you work, you've got to come up with your own work. And the joke is, well, if no other theater will hire me, then I'll make my own theater and hire myself. Well, I have to admit that back in 2013, I had a play that I was very anxious to get heard and very anxious to get out there. I couldn't find a theater who would do it, so I decided to pull a few of my friends together and stage it myself in a staged reading. Now, as a joke, in order to give myself some legitimacy, if you will, I called it the Second Act New Works Festival, and I just thought it was a catchy name that I wanted to put out there. Little did I know that it would actually catch on. Not only was I able to get actor friends from all around the country, not only local, but from as far away as Baltimore, Maryland. I had an actor from Seattle, several from Las Vegas, several from Arizona. They were all willing to come in and help me read this play, that I thought maybe there's something to this. And the next year, I put out a call to a lot of my playwright friends, and I got 40 submissions, just not even having that legitimate of an organization. And I was able to sift through them and put together 7 plays that we presented over a course of 7 nights, and it was actually quite successful. So it's my pleasure to let you know that things are definitely growing with this. A lot of people have asked, why do staged readings? Why not just do a full production? Well, as most people know, putting on a full production costs money. It takes time. You've got to have a place to do it. You've got to have people who are willing to give sometimes up to 6 and 7 weeks of rehearsal on top of the performance. So quite often, it's going to be very, very difficult to put a play up. But if you do a staged reading, quite often you can do it in 1 rehearsal or 2 rehearsals, or even sometimes you can put a play up without any rehearsal at all. You get some people who know what they're doing, you got some actors who have really good instincts with the text, and you can just put it up in front of the audience. One of my favorite things to do with plays is actually have the first read-through, and it's fun for the group who's participating, but I've noticed that audiences enjoy being a part of that as well, and that's exactly what Second Act New Works Festival is all about. We'll present these plays, you as an audience get to hear the plays with the playwright present in most cases, and then you get to submit your thoughts, submit your reactions. Ultimately, the playwright will take these reactions and they will continue working on the play until they come up with a final draft that they can actually start presenting to the regional theater. So this is a project that I'm actually very, very close to, and we have a guest with us, Joel Thomas, who has worked with us as an actor on several of these productions over the past few years, but has, for the first time, submitted his own play. Joel, how are you? I'm doing really well. Thanks for joining us today. Gotcha. Just a few questions for you, and of course, this is to help us get to know you better. You're a family man, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
I am married to one wife.
Fantastic. Hey, you go.
And I have 2 children.
Okay, fantastic. And let's see, it also says here that you are a registered nurse as well as an administrator at Dixie Regional Medical Center.
That's correct.
Gotcha. How many years have you been doing that?
Well, I have been in southern Utah, working at Dixie Regional since 2004.
Got it. So quite a while.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I hope a lot of our listeners haven't experienced this, but if you have been in the hospital, maybe you've run into Joel. Um,
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, this actually brings up a point that a lot of playwrights, that's not just what they do. There are a few in the country that they are professional playwrights, and that's their bread and butter. But the majority of playwrights, they do have other jobs. And by other jobs, I don't mean just a day job. A lot of them have other professions. And interestingly enough, that's where their plays come from. There was a play called Wit that came out many, many years ago. Not so long ago that it'd be a classic necessarily. But it's very well known about cancer and a patient who's going through it. And the playwright worked as a nurse in a hospital and just felt that she wanted to tell the story of this particular patient. So she put together the play, and it turned into a Pulitzer Prize winner, a Tony Award winner play. And that's where the majority of these things come from, is personal experience and such. Now, Joel, you mentioned that this has been your first playwriting venture, but it says here that you've been performing for over 24 years?
That is correct.
Gotcha. Now, this number, I'm hoping it's not inflated here, but it says in over 70 productions. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I have a document to prove it if you need.
We'll post that on the website just so people can check and make sure we're giving legit information here. What I'm intrigued by is, yes, over 70 productions, but it says you've done them nationally and internationally. What's up with that?
Yeah, so I've had the opportunity to perform in South Africa, in Iceland. I did a little concert, and also in Scotland, in Edinburgh, at the Fringe Festival.
Got it. You've been around.
The world.
I would say, in Iceland, what took you there to perform? You said a little concert?
Well, actually, it was more of an impromptu concert. But my wife and I went there for our 15th wedding anniversary to celebrate, and with the group we were with, which was probably about 18 other people, I got them all together and I did a concert for them, and so I counted it as performing in Iceland.
Gotcha. Well, that works.
All right.
Yeah, and actually, Joel, if you would, just speak a little closer into the phone there. We've had some listeners who are saying that you're a little bit soft.
Oh, okay. Is that better?
Oh, my goodness, that is much better.
Okay.
I'm hoping to get some text from people saying, yes, that's fine. Usually we have absolutely no problem hearing actors, so this is a pleasant surprise. Now, let's see here. I want to let people know that my first glimpse of your talent, I got into St. George about 11 years ago and began teaching at Dixie State College at the time, and I saw this marvelous production called Sweeney Todd. I'm assuming you remember your role in this.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Absolutely. I remember seeing you play the role that was initially played by Victor Garba, and I remember watching you thinking, okay, this guy has chops. This guy is a lot of fun to watch on stage. And I was directing right after that a show called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, and I was really excited to see you come into the rehearsal and audition hall. I want to tell you, you had one of the most unusual auditions that got a person a role that I've ever seen. Do you remember how you got that role?
Are you really bringing this up?
I sure am.
I do recall, but I think you tell the story the best.
Well, thank you very much. I will tell you that I was excited to meet Joel. I had seen his performance, of course, and what I was looking for was for the lead role, who's a role named Pseudolus. I needed somebody who was going to stand out, someone who was going to grab my attention. So I lined up all of the actors who were available for that role, if you will, or auditioning for it. And I just said, I'm going to have you all just move down the line, and I want you to do something that stands out, something that makes me remember you. And there's a certain gesture in this country that, shall we say, stands out. Usually it's used for road rage or things of that sort. And I will tell you, I have never had that gesture thrown at me from an actor auditioning before, but it certainly did make you stand out in my mind. Now, please know, any aspiring young actors out there, I do not recommend this overall. But I am happy to say Joel is a very good friend of mine now, and I just find it very amusing that that's what actually started our relationship there. Now, Joel, you mentioned that this is your first stab at being a playwright. Why? Why did you write this play?
It originally started out as a short film. I saw I think it was a contest or something for a short film. And writing a film or a play is something I had always wanted to do, but it was coming up with the subject matter that I find the most challenging part. But my wife and I have gone through adoption with both of our children. We have adopted them and had them placed into our home. And so for some reason, adoption stood out, and I thought, I really want to write a play or a short film about adoption. And so I put it together initially, and then when the Second Act's New Work Festival came out, I thought, I think this would be easily adaptable into a play. And so that is how it got its start as an actual play. And then, I submitted it, and you graciously accepted it, and I'm really excited that it's going to be read tonight.
It's quite a good piece, and I'll tell you, one of the things we try to encourage is not only national playwrights, playwrights from all over the country, but we do want to encourage local playwrights and such. And it was really exciting to see you so excited to submit your work. This is just a brief synopsis of the journey that was submitted to us by Joel. The journey is about one couple's experience with coming to accept their adoption and understanding that adoption is an option. And along with this couple, there's another couple going through the task of deciding whether to place their unborn child up for adoption. The play explores how their paths cross and intertwine on their respective journeys. I'll tell you, there are a lot of plays out there about adoption, but something that truly strikes me about this script is it is heartfelt. It's very clear that it was written by someone who understands the topic, who understands the process. And I was drawn to it right from the start.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
No problem at all. Now, let me ask you, in telling this story, why? What are you trying to get to your audience? What are you trying to have happen with this piece?
Oh, for me, writing it turned out to be therapeutic to write it out and to get some of my own feelings about adoption out there. And, some of the experiences that I had, I guess in my own journey through adoption. And I guess ultimately, I think just to make people more aware about adoption and how many people you don't even know may be adopted. And a lot of people, by no fault of their own, will just make offhanded remarks about, adoption or child rearing, child raising, with really no thought to what has that couple gone through. My wife and I were without children for almost 8 years, and the types of comments we'd sometimes hear that people would do, good-naturedly, but they're also kind of hurtful. And so I think just bringing an awareness of that, and just what an amazing thing adoption is, for those who choose to pursue that path.
Got it. Well, I'll tell you, I think it's a very worthy topic to put out there. What would be the ideal reaction you would have to this piece? Somebody would walk away thinking what?
I think just having a greater awareness of adoption, and I think that the type of responses maybe that they choose to say or not say to people who do not have children or are trying to have children. And they go away from it also, just feeling good, like, what, there is good in this world, and, it's right here all around us.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that I believe makes a truly good play is that it doesn't present answers to be questioned, but instead questions to be answered. And one of the things that I find truly remarkable about your play, Joel, is that it doesn't preach. There are a lot of plays out there that preach, you should feel this way, or you should feel this way, or you should feel bad for feeling this way, or good for feeling this way. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I absolutely love about it is it comes from the heart, and it really invites the audience to make their own opinions, to decide what do they know, what do they want to know, and how they're going to conduct themselves afterwards. I think it's quite successful with that.
Oh, well, thank you. That's good to hear.
Yeah. And let me ask you, Joel, who are your inspirations? You've written a play now. You've acted many, 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 many times. You've blessed the stages of many different continents. Who are your inspirations in the theater?
Oh, probably the one that my mind goes to right initially is my very first drama teacher, Nan Morton. You know, and I'm sure she's not listening to this, but I am forever grateful for her for ever taking a chance on me, and just teaching me all about what theater is. You know, I remember taking beginning theater from her, and then as I've grown up, you know, doing theater and you know, pursuing it more. I mean, I do have my favorite actors. I mean, I really look at Michael Caine for a lot of inspiration. And I just think that there are so many amazing actors out there, but, you know, I think that you got to find your own way to act, you know, and be your own person, because there's no one else just like you, you know. But those are the couple that come to my mind for inspirations.
Well, fantastic. I do want to thank you for being here on the show with us, and thank you for all of your service in the medical profession as well. I have a lot of respect for the folks who get out there and save lives, and nurses are right on the front. So thank you for all of the things that you've contributed.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and it's been a pleasure visiting with you. I'm just thrilled that you'd have me on, and that we get to see my play be read tonight. So.
I'm very much looking forward to it. You've got a great cast, and I hope people will come to hear this piece and to deal with the questions and also see some top-notch theater.
Awesome. Well,
Joel, we'll see you tonight at the theater.
All right. Thanks, Michael.
Bye.
Bye now.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Joel Thomas. He is the playwright of one of the plays being presented this evening at the Second Act New Works Festival. We do have another one called Swinger, as a matter of fact, and it is by a playwright named Kurt Scheinemann. And Swinger looks at life through the eyes of a bipolar individual, a man who is bipolar, how it affects his family, how it affects his jobs. It's a short piece, but again, one that I think is going to be very powerful. Now, right now, I'm going to be playing, in honor of the first theatrical relationship that I've had with Joel Thomas, a piece from A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. And as soon as we're done with that piece, I'll be back on the air with Sue Lang, one of the playwrights from tonight from Pennsylvania. Enjoy.
I bid you welcome. The
All
theater is a
right, that
temple,
was
and we
Funny
are
Thing
here
Happened on the
to
Way to the
worship
Forum,
gods
the
of
overture,
comedy
and we are right now
tragedy.
trying to
Tonight,
get
I am
Sue Lang
pleased
on
to
the phone.
announce
Sue, are you there?
Comedy. We shall employ every device
Oh my goodness,
we
Sue
know in our
is somewhere else
desire
right
to
now.
divert.
What we're going to do is we're going to jump to yet another selection from Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, and
Something
we will soon be back
familiar,
with Sue
something
Lang.
peculiar, something for everyone, a comedy tonight. Something appealing, something appalling, something for everyone, a comedy tonight. Nothing with kings, nothing with crowns. Bring on the lovers, liars, and clowns. Old situations, new complications. Nothing portentous or polite. Tragedy tomorrow, comedy tonight. Tragedy tomorrow, comedy tonight. Something expensive, something offensive, something for everyone, a comedy tonight. Passions and potions, constant commotions, something for everyone, a comedy tonight. Nothing with kings, nothing with crowns. Bring on the lovers, liars, and clowns. Old situations, new complications. Nothing portentous or polite. Tragedy tomorrow, comedy tonight.
Something convulsive, something repulsive.
Something for everyone, a comedy tonight. Something aesthetic,
Something balletic.
something for everyone,
A comedy tonight.
nothing with gods, nothing with fate,
Weighty affairs will just have to wait.
nothing that's formal,
Nothing that's normal.
no recitation to recite.
Open up the curtain.
Comedy tonight. It all takes place on a street in Rome, around and about these three houses. First, the house of Erroneous, a befuddled old man abroad now in search of his children, stolen in infancy by pirates. Second, the house of Lycus, a buyer and seller of the flesh of beautiful women. That's for those of you who have absolutely no interest in pirates. And finally, the house of Senex, who lives here with his wife and son. Also in this house lives Pseudolus, slave to the sun. Pseudolus is probably my favorite character in the piece. A role of enormous variety and nuance. And played by an actor of such, well, let me put it this way. I play the part. Anything you ask for, comedy tonight. And now, the entire company.
Something familiar, something peculiar, something for everybody coming tonight. Something that's gaudy, something that's bawdy,
Something for everybody.
comedy tonight.
Nothing that's grim.
Nothing that's Greek.
She plays Medea later this week.
Stunning surprises, cunning disguises, hundreds of actors out of sight.
Pantaloons and tunics.
Funerals and chases.
Homes and bases,
Panderers. Philanderers.
cupidity,
Timidity.
mistakes, fake shrines, tumblers, grumblers, fumblers, fumblers, no royal curse, no Trojan horse, and a happy ending, of course. Goodness and badness, man in his madness. This time it all turns out alright. Happy tomorrow.
Comedy. Comedy.
Comedy tonight.
1, 2, 3.
All right, we're back. This isn't exactly a comedy, but I will tell you, one would be a pretty terrible artist if they weren't able to roll with the punches. We have gotten in touch with Sue Lang, and unfortunately, she is in a meeting that has run over and is not able to join us today. But we do have a few minutes before we are at the end, so I'll be letting you know a little bit about her. Again, tonight we'll be seeing a play called Swinger by Kurt Scheinemann, of course, based on Bipolar. We'll also be seeing The Journey by Joel Thomas, which is about adoption and the trials that couples go through. And the third offering tonight is a play called Cap and Trade. This is a play by Sue Lang. We've actually had her here at the Second Act New Works Festival before. 2 years ago, she presented a play called The Process. What I find fascinating about Sue Lang's plays is that she writes about things that you wouldn't necessarily think were entertainment, as it were. If I were to tell you that her plays were comedic and heartfelt looks at environmental waste, that might not be the absolute best selling point for these plays. But I will tell you, what she's looking at are the relationships that are created by disagreements. For example, the synopsis for tonight's play, Cap and Trade, which is a 10-minute play, by the way, is a young woman is illegally dumping construction debris, and she is caught by an ex-Marine who loves his country, loves what it stands for, and literally has a problem with her poisoning this country that he loves so much. It examines the fragile power structures between people and how they can be broken down when players are forced to see the opponent's humanity. Now, even though this goes beyond environmental waste and things of that sort, I think it's something that is certainly necessary to be looked at today. We have all sorts of political disagreements, we have social disagreements, and one of the wonderful things that plays do is they allow that argument, if you will, that opportunity to talk, to come to life. So we hope that you'll join us tonight at the Center for the Performing Arts at KDXI. Admission is free. You'll get to hear 3 brand new plays and also be a part of their development. Starting tomorrow night, we'll have another local playwright by the name of Carl Rich, and we'll be presenting a play of his called Gilgamesh. Some of you may be familiar with that term. It's a Sumerian epic poem that he has placed on stage. An opportunity that we have as artists is to explore different ways to put things up there. You could certainly just line up the scripts and read them to the audience, and that is a very legitimate way to do staged readings. But seeing as it is a Sumerian epic poem, we're going to be exploring some theatrical presentation techniques of Sumerian epic poems. Imagine that. Imagine a chorus that is speaking incredibly spontaneously, and imagine some very, very, shall we say, conceited characters, and by conceited I mean they're very sure of themselves, having arguments that affect the world. On Thursday night, we're going to have a play called Hysterical by a New York playwright, Elena Stouffer. And this is a play that explores social disease. So this isn't environmental waste. This isn't an ancient story. This is social disease that happens today in our high schools, in our middle schools. And it follows the lives of 5 young cheerleaders and what they do to fit in and how they deal with the pressures of everyday life. And then we'll close out Second Act New Works Festival on Friday evening with a comedy called So When Are You Leaving? Anybody who has ever had a family and had a family get-together will understand this play. It's a play for you. We hope you enjoyed today's program and hope you enjoy programs to come. On Thursday, we are going to be having Mayor John Pike here in the studio, and we'll be talking about artistic offerings that are here for Southern Utah, St. George, and everyone who's within earshot. At this point, we will move on to Haydn, the Divertimento in C, number 3. Have a great day.